Hi, welcome to your first carrier update of the morning with Zach Strickland. I'm Mike Vincent, and back in the saddle with Zach. What's up, brother?
Yeah, man. So you just appeared.
It's been a hot minute, huh?
It has been. It has been a while since we've done a carrier update together. But so I guess the big story with the freight market right now is it finally starting to settle?
Like,
are we taking a breath? Are we seeing a trend line change here?
Right.
Tender rejection rates continue to fall pretty rapidly. I mean, you can see in the chart back behind me there that the rejection rate has accelerated its decline here since about March 6th. It was almost
accelerated its deceleration.
Yes, exactly. It's decelerating, if you will, and it's fallen dramatically since March 6th, really taking a divergence from what we'd seen, this kind of hesitancy in the slow kind of additional capacity type trend line that we were talking about. Where
it was very like it was stuck in mud trying to move, and then now
you can see it there on the chart. It's just like, we've hit some sort of inflection point, and now it is dropping dramatically. We can see that in the OTVI as well, though not as accentuated in the overall pattern here. You still got it's not necessarily like falling below a significant line, but it's around 14K right now, which is really, I mean, that's still relatively high, but it is falling quite rapidly, and it's March. So I know March is not normally the time of year where you're expecting.
March is where it starts to ratchet up again seasonally speaking, right?
Exactly. Now, and we had an unusual January. Maybe this is that January moment that we, didn't necessarily expect to have.
January and March.
January and March is what it is for the freight market right now. So definitely something we're going to have to watch, in the coming weeks, because if March is like this, what does that mean for April? April traditionally a lot softer than March because it's the first month of a quarter. Everybody's kind of like they've already ramped up some spring volumes, there's sales quotas, et cetera, that have to come in. They're pushing a lot of that inventory. So we're still in that different, coming out of, another transitional period, if you will, with the pandemic easing. And of course, people returning to work has an impact on that consumer demand.
Sure it does. Yeah. And spring in COVID, Omicron seems to be disappearing, which is really nice in the United States here anyways.
And in the United States, but it's starting to pop back up around the world in certain spots. And of course, China.
Unfortunately in China.
In China, once again. So let's look at the next chart here, the spot rates, and see what they're doing, because we have an interesting development here. Continuing, reefer spot rates for the refrigerated sector continuing to fall here quite rapidly. And that's unusual for March.
Yeah, I was just going to say, wait a minute, why everything's going the wrong way right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're still high, but how much of this is inflationary pressure and how much of it is market driven? And it looks like the market is in a dramatic correction cycle right now for the reefer side. Reefer rejections were one of the stickier things until about halfway through February, and then all of a sudden, boom.
It was really driving the overall O-Tri for all modes, right? It was the one that was keeping it up there so much, and then Fo-Tri took over.
Yeah, and now Fo-Tri is the thing. So now flatbed, you see there in the orange line, flatbed spot rates coming up. The only one of the three main modes here
that's still rising. And you can blame Anthony Smith for that.
Anthony Smith is going to have to. He's got his construction and housing sector.
He's going to have to really explain himself when he gets up here.
So van spot rates down as well. Though not falling as rapidly. The big question is, how much is fuel going to have? What kind of impact is these underlying contract rates and the fuel, of course, being extremely elevated? What is that going to have on spot rates? We've got this situation where a lot of the market activity of the day kind of drives those rates higher, and then when you remove all that, what's left? You have costs, and the costs are going to create kind of that floor.
It can't go too far.
Yeah.
It has to stay at a certain level, and hopefully for the carriers, because we certainly don't want to see. We saw another a company go out of business the other day, right?
Yeah.
And we don't want to see that happening here. And they're attracting drivers and are raising that cost, and you don't.
No, it's bad for the market.
You don't take that back.
Yeah, it's bad for the market. That's of course the overall concern of any kind of hyperinflationary environment is this. Do we see the, some sort of retraction off of it? We just had the rates increase yesterday, so trying to tamp down inflation might have been,
Let me ask you one quick question
late.
before we go, because we only got a few seconds. Do you see this as going past what we call pre-COVID? seasonality as far as declining, even with the reefer, or are we kind of adjusting back to normal and it just looks like this cliff?
It's hard to say what it's going to look like coming out of it. I don't know what post-COVID world looks like, but it's definitely going to be different because we're out of the seasonality aspect of things.
That's what I'm saying.
We're completely, you can throw those out the window at this point. Even the June stuff, the June, July type seasonality, I think you can expect some tightening around the holiday itself, but are we going to see that same freight pattern where we see this wave of freight kind of moving? I don't know, because we have all this inventory, backlog, and
warehouses are full. And we've got Yenshin's not shipping any right now, which
and in the next segment I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, good. We'll look forward to that. Thank you so much, Zach. We'll catch up a little bit later. Right now I'm going to toss it over to myself and Kaylee Nix.